Did you know that around 70% of employees say they would work harder if they were better recognized? It's shocking to think that a simple lack of appreciation can affect performance so deeply. Yet, many leaders still chase popularity instead of respect. In a world obsessed with likes and shares, it's easy to believe that being liked equals being a good leader. But what if I told you that some of the most successful leaders were often the most criticized? Leaders like Abraham Lincoln and Steve Jobs faced immense pushback but made tough decisions that changed the world. In this video, we'll explore why being liked isn't the goal of great leadership. We'll dive into the myths surrounding likability, the importance of respect, and the power of making uncomfortable decisions. You'll learn how embracing criticism and leading with purpose can help you build a lasting legacy. So, if you're ready to discover the truth about leadership and why it's not about being liked, let's get started. Chapter 1. The myth of the likable leader. Many people think that being a good leader means being liked by everyone. But that's simply not true. According to a study by Harvard Business Review, leaders who focus too much on being liked often end up being seen as weak and indecisive. Leadership isn't a popularity contest, it's about making the right calls, even when they're tough. Think about Steve Jobs. He wasn't known for being the friendliest person, yet he built Apple into one of the most valuable companies in the world. His leadership style was often criticized for being too harsh, but his focus on innovation and results is what mattered in the end. Leaders need to embrace the reality that not everyone will like them. Dr. Brené Brown, in her book Dare to Lead, emphasizes that leaders must be clear rather than nice. When you focus on clarity and direction, you build trust, even if it's uncomfortable at first. People follow leaders they respect, not necessarily the ones they want to grab a coffee with. A big part of this myth comes from the pressure to be agreeable. But great leaders are comfortable with conflict. As Patrick Lencioni points out in The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, avoiding conflict can be fatal to leadership. If you're always aiming to please, you're probably not pushing your team hard enough to grow. Chapter 2. Respect over approval. The true currency of leadership. Respect is the real currency of leadership. While approval feels good, it's not what drives long-term success. Leaders like Abraham Lincoln, who faced heavy criticism during his presidency, are a perfect example. He wasn't always liked, but he was respected because he stood firm on his values. According to a Gallup study, employees who respect their leaders are 55% more engaged at work. This proves that respect builds stronger, more committed teams. People want to work for leaders who stand for something, not leaders who simply try to be everyone's friend. Earning respect comes from consistency, integrity, and delivering on promises. In Leaders Eat Last, Simon Sinek talks about the importance of being dependable as a leader. When people see that you consistently do what you say, they begin to trust you. Trust then leads to respect, which is far more valuable than short-term approval. It's also important to remember that respect doesn't mean fear. Leaders like Nelson Mandela gained respect by showing empathy and understanding, not by being feared. Mandela once said, "A leader is like a shepherd. He stays behind the flock, letting the most nimble go out ahead, whereupon the others follow, not realizing they are being directed from behind." Chapter 3. The power of uncomfortable decisions. Great leadership isn't about taking the easy road. It's about making decisions that may be uncomfortable but are necessary. Many leaders shy away from tough decisions because they're afraid of the backlash. But as the saying goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. One of the best examples is when Howard Schultz of Starbucks decided to close 7,100 stores for a day to retrain his baristas. This was a bold move that could have upset both employees and customers. But Schultz wasn't focused on being liked, he was focused on the long-term quality of his product. That uncomfortable decision ended up strengthening Starbucks' brand and customer experience. The key to making these tough choices is vision. Leaders with clear goals know that hard decisions are necessary stepping stones. In The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Ben Horowitz reminds us that there are no silver bullets, only hard choices that move you toward your vision. Leaders who make tough choices often face resistance at first, but they gain respect in the long run. A 2019 study from Deloitte found that leaders who make difficult decisions, even unpopular ones, are seen as more authentic and trustworthy by their teams. People might not agree with your decision immediately, but they'll respect you for being decisive. Uncomfortable decisions also force growth. If you're not challenging your team with difficult choices, you're not leading them. As John C. Maxwell puts it in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Showing the way sometimes means taking the tough path. If you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss the next chapters where we dive even deeper into effective leadership strategies. Chapter 4. Embracing Criticism. The leadership superpower. No leader can avoid criticism, but how they handle it makes all the difference. Criticism, when used well, becomes a tool for growth. According to a study by the Center for Creative Leadership, 20% of leadership development comes from feedback and real-time critique. This means that learning from criticism is a vital part of being a stronger leader. Great leaders don't just accept criticism, they actively seek it out. In Radical Candor, Kim Scott talks about how strong leaders create an environment where people feel comfortable offering feedback, even when it's tough to hear. Leaders who invite open communication build stronger teams and improve faster. One interesting fact: CEOs of the best performing companies are more likely to have a mentor who provides critical feedback. This shows that even at the top level, growth requires listening to the hard stuff. Leaders like Elon Musk thrive on criticism. He has said that feedback is a gift because it allows him to see blind spots he didn't know were there. Instead of viewing criticism as a personal attack, leaders should see it as an opportunity to improve. And remember, being criticized doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Often, it means you're pushing boundaries. As Aristotle once said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. Leadership is about taking risks and being willing to face the backlash. Chapter 5. Leading with Purpose, Not Popularity. A strong leader always keeps the bigger picture in mind. Purpose, not popularity, drives true leadership. When you focus on purpose, you naturally make better decisions for your team and organization. Research from McKinsey shows that purpose-driven companies outperform the market by 42%, and this applies to leadership as well. Take Martin Luther King Jr., for example. His leadership was driven by a deep sense of purpose, not by whether people liked him or not. His focus was on creating lasting change, which sometimes made him unpopular. But his legacy is proof that purpose outlasts popularity. Simon Sinek, in his book Start With Why, explains that people follow leaders because of their why, not their what. Your purpose as a leader is the guiding force behind every action you take. When your team understands the purpose behind decisions, even if they don't like them, they'll still follow because they believe in the cause. Purpose-driven leaders also build more loyal teams. A study by Deloitte found that millennials are 5.3 times more likely to stay with a company when they feel connected to its purpose. The same applies to leadership. When you lead with purpose, your team is more likely to stick with you, even through tough times. Another example is Patagonia, whose leadership is focused on environmental sustainability. They aren't always the most liked company, especially by competitors, but their commitment to purpose has built them a fiercely loyal customer base and team. Chapter 6. Beyond Likability. Building a legacy that lasts. The ultimate goal of leadership isn't to be liked, it's to leave a lasting legacy. A strong legacy is built on the impact you make, not on how many people liked you along the way. People like Winston Churchill weren't universally liked during their time, but they're remembered today for their leadership through critical moments in history. In fact, Churchill was voted out of office shortly after World War II. But history remembers him as one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century. This is because his decisions, although unpopular at times, were critical to the success of the Allied forces. The focus of leadership should always be on long-term impact. A survey by Forbes showed that 83% of CEOs believe that creating a lasting impact is more important than short-term wins. Building a legacy means making tough calls, embracing challenges, and leading with integrity, even when it's hard. Legacy-driven leadership is also about passing the torch. It's about developing future leaders who will carry on your vision. As John C. Maxwell states in the 5 levels of leadership, the highest level of leadership is not what you do, but what you help others become. A legacy isn't just about what you achieve but about how you inspire those around you. In the end, leadership isn't about being popular in the moment. It's about the impact you leave behind. If you're always aiming to be liked, you might miss the opportunity to make a real difference. Lead with purpose, embrace the tough choices, and focus on the legacy you want to create. That's what true leadership is all about. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned for more insights on leadership that will help you become the leader you were meant to be.